Welcome to the Not Old Better Show, the show covering all things health, wellness, culture, and more. The show for all of us who aren't old, we're better. Each week, we'll interview superstars, experts, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, all related to this wonderful experience of getting better, not older. Now, here's your host, the award-winning Paul Vogelzang.
Welcome to the Not Old Better Show Fitness Friday interview series. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and today we are cutting through the noise. We're going to get real about health, fitness, and aging strong. If you've ever felt like your body is working against you as you hit midlife or just a shade beyond, or you're tired of these kind of one-size-fits-all health advice programs that don't really actually fit you and where you're headed, you're in the right place. My guest today is Jane Marcus. She's a fitness coach, nutrition expert, and the powerhouse behind 1FitLife, fit and fabulous over 40. Jane Marcus didn't just wake up one day as a fitness guru. Her journey was filled with frustration, setbacks, and reinvention. From struggling in a new country with jobs that drained her to discovering the power of strength training and building a thriving health business for women over age 40. Jane has lived the transformation she now teaches. Jane Marcus is with us today to bust some myths about midlife fitness, explain why traditional diets fail us after 40, and share how we can actually boost our energy, build strength, and stay active, not just for today, but for decades to come. Whether you're feeling stuck, exhausted, or just looking for that extra push, Jane Marcus's insight will change the way you think about fitness at this stage of life. And stick around because I'll be asking her the question we all want answered. How on earth does she do so many chin-ups? If you know a little bit about Jane Marcus, you'll know she is a chin-up master. There's lots of videos of her doing this online, but it's wonderful. So let's get to it. Please join me in welcoming to the Not Old Better Show Fitness Friday interview series, Jane Marcus. Jane Marcus, welcome to the program.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
It's great to talk to you. We've had a chance to talk a little bit and go back and forth on some emails with one another. You just have this wonderful background and this wonderful disposition that's kind of brought you to this place in time. And nothing in life is along a rigid line. But I wonder if you'd just tell us briefly about your story, because you do such a great job of being in the online world, which is a tough place to be these days. But you had a real turning point with regard to your health and fitness, and maybe this is a true calling. I kind of feel that way sometimes about the work I do, but give us your story. I think that'd be a good place to start.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I've been now working as a health coach, personal trainer, etc., since I was 37, but I certainly wasn't the path I ever thought I was going to take. I was telling you before that as a kid in school, I was the kid who wasn't chosen for any team, netball, rounders, hockey, whatever we had. 2 girls left on the side. I was one of them. My school friends now, when they hear what I do, are like, what? Are you sure? So, I really was the kid. And actually, my dad always worked out. My dad used to go to the gym and I would watch him and be like, this is amazing. Like, I knew he went, but I would ask him to run with him. And I'd run down the garden path, get out of breath, and he'd say, oh, go home. So I thought that I was done for. I had a weird life and I moved to Israel in my early 20s. Having got a degree in teaching and drama from Cambridge University, and found myself really without language doing all sorts of terrible jobs. I mean, terrible for me, just, English secretary and all sorts of things. And I wasn't very happy and I really wasn't fulfilled in any way. The gym became my answer. I think more emotionally, mentally, it gave me this place, this space where I was just me. Sounds kind of funny, but I was just Jane. I wasn't someone's mom. I wasn't someone's daughter, wife, employee. I was just me. And it just sort of started something, started feeling stronger, body and mind, which to this day for me is the most important thing. And when I had
body and mind. Yeah,
body and mind for me is everything.
Yeah.
It really is. The connection is huge. And we know that. And I have 4 kids and my last 2 were twins. And I was in another job that wasn't particularly fulfilling. And I realized that to actually put them in daycare, I wasn't going to earn as much as I was going to pay. And I also realized that everybody was always asking me in the gym or friends, well, what are you doing? Well, how do you do that? And I was like, oh my gosh, this could actually be like, this is it. I could tell other people. So they were a few months old and I went back to study. I used to leave them on a Friday with my husband and he would send me photos of the living room strewn with every DVD they could find. I retrained and found my absolute calling, passion, joy of life, to be honest.
Well, congratulations, because I think that it takes time to do that. It's hard to do that. You have to persevere. Sometimes the world wants to keep you in one particular place, particularly those around us, our loved ones. They see us in, specific roles. Many in my audience are 40 plus age women who they feel stuck. They feel like they can't go back. Maybe their best years are behind them. What advice would you give to those people that you've learned to keep purposeful, keep that focus on your next step? Because so many today are exhausted and they just feel unsure. They don't even know where to start necessarily with health routine.
I hear you. And I will just say, I was 37 I was 38, I think, when I actually changed careers, much to my parents, like, well, how are you going to do that sort of thing? And you get other people's opinions and you kind of have to center yourself. I am just a firm believer, and I see this with many of my clients, to be honest, that we have to actually look at whether what we're doing is just going through the motions or whether we're really connected to what we're doing. Being 40, you have at least another 40 years to go. Do you really want to stay? And I know that you know this. Do you really want to stay in that place where you just feel about yourself? And I think the thing is to dig deep and to have a little faith. We're all frightened. We're all scared of doing the things. I know I was. When I finished training, my husband said, okay, so go start working. And I was literally, what you mean doing? And even then I'd gone through everything. I knew my stuff. So I think that 40 is nothing anymore. I'm 56 now. 40? It's just nothing. You've had only a small part of your life. You've had a small part of your life to discover who you are. And I have two clients right now who both, and they're health clients, right? They're for nutrition and exercise. They both left their jobs because as we worked together, as they got stronger, they started to see that actually the bottleneck in their life, the place where they were struggling was actually this awful job that made them feel terrible about themselves. So I just believe that when we start to really look at who we are and what we want, not as someone's child, not as someone's husband, wife or anything, we really can make change and we just have to jump in.
The other thing that I see that you're very vocal about, and in my research of you, I found this, and by the way, you cite your age. I've seen your videos. You really have this zest. You just do capture this sense of enthusiasm around this subject. But you preach this idea, preach maybe is too strong a word, but you really advocate this position of progress, not perfection. And I just thought, wow, that is a really great mindset to have. Tell us about your experience in coming to that realization. Was that through your own work? Was that through a client's? And maybe share a client story that you've watched somebody really transform themselves, both mentally and physically, to kind of embrace this idea of, I don't have to be perfect.
Yeah, listen, my absolute bottom line is perfection not required. If we all try and be perfect, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
And I tell my clients, if when I make a mistake in something technological, when I'm setting them up with something, like it would be awful if I was perfect and could do everything, right? I believe that we have to just do our best in the moment, that we can only strive and we can only strive against ourselves. I think the biggest issue right now is looking at everybody else and thinking that everyone else has got it all together. I see this with my clients. I'll give you an example. I've got a wonderful woman working with me right now. And she came to me, both her parents are deceased. They both died very young from from all the diseases that we're petrified of. And quite frankly, she's pretty overweight. She's never done anything. She's bought the things. She has a treadmill. She has some weird vibrating thing to stand on. The things she has are unbelievable, but she didn't do anything. She started working with me. And I think my enthusiasm, my belief in her allowed her to break free and see that small steps. I'm not asking her to run a marathon. I'm not asking her to do a pull-up. I'm not asking her to squat 50 pounds. I'm asking her to get up. I'm asking her to get out of her chair because, we all work at home, right?
Yep.
We all work in front of a computer. I'm asking her to get some steps in. I'm asking her to make small changes. I'm asking her to look at what's on her plate and be aware. Let's only change breakfast for now. Let's change when you're eating. We don't have to change it all.
That's really good.
And we absolutely don't have to go all out. Women think that in order to change their bodies, and I'm not just talking about let's all be a size 0. That's absolutely the opposite of what I'm going for. I want functional, fit, healthy women, men. By the way, lots of husbands of the women in my programs also lose weight.
Got to root for those husbands too. Yeah,
absolutely. Like we want to be active in our lives. So this lady, call her N, she's made strides you can't imagine. And we do live workouts on Zoom, and I watch her children. Okay. And they are they're joining her.
Wow.
Now, these are kind of overweight children too, right? Because you know what happens at home is, how you're fed, she sends me photos after the classes because her husband's been taking photos of her on the side. And I actually had a conversation with her this morning, and she said, I cannot believe that I'm a person who can move. The other day she shared, I'm a person who walks around with a water bottle. She'd never even thought about drinking water. So she's not perfect today. She is in progression, and her change is huge. I literally, and I promise I'm not exaggerating, I cry at nearly every message I get from her because every little step is mammoth. Both her parents died young, and she's making a change.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you so much for sharing that. In my mind's eye, as you were talking, I'm just thinking, I can see the children watching, and it affects other generations. When you said to me that you started even at breakfast, I just thought that is mind-opening too, because I think people forget about that. They just feel, okay, we got to talk about the work. Well, maybe the work needs to start at at where we're getting our calories and our nutrition. So good on you, and congratulations on all of this work. Our guest, of course, today is fitness coach Jane Marcus. Jane Marcus has a fitness practice. We will have links in our show notes today so that everybody can find out more information about Jane, her work. For those of us who are over age 40, very focused on women in the audience. Absolutely. Jane, it is such a pleasure to talk with you. So many in my audience, and I've been very candid about this. My own wife has gone through perimenopause and full menopause. And so it's been a subject that's been on our mind in our family. I know it's something that you focus on too, in and amongst all of the other things that you're kind of thinking about. So maybe tell us a little bit about fitness and the myths around menopause, because they're very real. And women sometimes get caught up in this idea, and that can alone, and I watch this with my wife too, that alone can just bring everything to a halt.
Perimenopause and menopause can be the most confusing time, and a time when many women feel like they're going crazy. We're also not aware that perimenopause is starting way before you have any signs. A lot of women I speak to, even in their 30s, they don't realize that they're already in perimenopause. Okay, it's a long lead up. It's at least 10 years before the point where you are in menopause, which is that one day when you went without a period for a whole year. So there's a long time coming, and we kind of don't realize what's happening. And suddenly women discover that they are energyless, that they are brain foggy, that they feel heavy, that their bellies have grown, that their clothes don't fit, that they were doing what they were doing before, and yet. And the thing with menopause is that we have such a change in our sex hormones. Estrogen levels are dropping, which is making a huge change to our muscle mass, to how we store fat. Over the age of 30, every decade, we lose 3 to 8% of our muscle. And then women think, what am I going to do to get rid of this weight? I'm going to eat as little as possible and move as much as possible. And yes, there's the calories in, calories out, but it is so much more complicated than that. What we want to do is change our metabolism. What we want to do is build muscle. And I'm not asking women to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm asking you to have muscle mass so that if you fall, you won't hurt yourself. If you're on an airplane and you've got to put that bag above your head, I personally don't want to ask some guy behind me to do it. I want to be strong enough to do that myself. I want to carry my groceries. I want to put them in my cupboard. I want to play with my grandchildren. May I please have some one day? I want to do all those things.
Yeah.
Right? And a menopausal woman can do this. We have to stop being afraid. Women think, I'm older now. I must be careful. Oh my gosh, lift a weight. I might hurt myself. They say it's dangerous. What's dangerous is doing nothing. What's dangerous is being too scared to get started. And nobody's asking you to go into a gym and lift a huge barbell. And you can start with your body weight. You can start with some jumping movements. Osteoporosis is a real thing. If we don't have a jumping motion, if we're not working our bones, we have a higher risk of fracture. There is just so much. And I'm sad that women, first of all, don't understand enough about menopause. They don't understand that it's not them going crazy. It really is hormonal changes. This is affecting their bodies, their brains. Many of us suddenly discover we have ADHD, by the way, that we never had before.
Mm-hmm.
Things are changing. So how we take care of ourselves is really huge. And small changes to exercise, to diet, sleep, hydration can be huge.
This is just such great stuff, Jane Marcus. Thank you again for joining us today. I want to go back and talk for just a second about this idea that you espouse, this notion of progress, not perfection. The other thing that you talk about is this idea of taking control of your own body. And I think that the two combined are worth talking about together, particularly when it comes to menopause and this idea of low energy. How do you bring all of that together so that women feel as though they can start to feel a little stronger? They can start to feel a little less low energy. They can start to feel as though this progress is coming for them.
Well, as frightening as it is to say to them when a woman is in low energy, to say you need to move, that actually is a huge key. So let's say you just have no energy and you just want to sit on the sofa and watch Netflix. I propose that you get up and you go for a walk. I don't care if you start 5 minutes around the block. Call a friend, go for a natter. Sometimes I just have to get out of my chair. No one's around. I might phone a friend. I might listen to a podcast. But just get out. Just move a little. And what you'll find is you actually have more energy than if you'd sat on the couch. I teach twice a week a live Zoom workout. And believe me, I work harder than when I'm just working out. And sometimes it's at 6:00, in the evening. Sometimes at 3 or 4, I'm like, I am so tired. How am I going to do this? And instead of lying down, I promise you, Paul, I go for a walk.
Uh-huh.
I go for a walk and I come back and I've had oxygen in me. I've had some sunlight on me and I have more energy. So I want women, instead of caving in, and this isn't just a willpower thing, give it a go, get up and get out. And also hydration. I mentioned it before. Are you drinking? If you are dehydrated, if you even feel thirsty, you're starting to be dehydrated. I carry a water bottle literally everywhere I go. And yes, I have a lot of bathroom breaks. I know where they all are in the local shopping mall. I promise you I do. It's okay. And also eating consistently through the day. We're so scared. Everyone's intermittent fasting, trying to cut their calories. It's actually a mistake. It's actually better to, if you imagine a fireplace, to keep the furnace burning, to keep it on a low light rather than the dips. Eat right, get your protein in, get your movement in, and don't be afraid. A little bit at a time. It's like you save your pennies, the pounds look after themselves. I guess it's dimes and dollars for you, but it's true.
Yeah, so well said. Jane Marcus, of course, our guest today. As a mother of 4, my wife and I have 2 boys. We all understand the role of parenting and how consuming that can be. How do you encourage those clients that are still kind of in the throes of that motherhood? Because many are, despite being age 40. I mean, parenthood goes on and on forever. And it's this idea that we do have to prioritize ourselves. And that's an important component in all of your work.
This is key, to be honest, because I'm never going to ask a mother to neglect her child. I'm never going to ask a mother to, not put them first. And I'm the first to admit, kid comes first. However, I'm front and center in my life and I ask and encourage my women to be. And what I mean by that is, and we touched on this earlier, it's a lifestyle. It's actually teaching your children. It's actually encouraging your children to lead the life you want for them. You are the biggest role model. It doesn't matter. And they don't care how much money you're earning. They don't care how pretty you are. They don't care if your clothes are gorgeous, if your nails are done. They want you alive. They want you strong. That's impressive to them. My children, my oldest is 27, my daughter's 25, my twin boys are 18. They just know mum works out. They know that. They know that there are certain times I work out. Again, if they need me, if there's a fire, I'm coming. But they have a respect for me because I put myself there. They are proud to have a mother who works out. They're proud to come and ask me things. We can go for a run together. We can go for a walk together. We can go to the gym together. And I have many clients with children. From 2, I had a woman, and I'm not joking, with 9 children.
Wow.
9 children, a psychologist with a full-time job. And the breath that she took when she suddenly said, you know what? I'm taking half an hour. I'm taking half an hour 4 times a week and I'm doing your workouts, Jane. It was mind-blowing for her. She's a psychologist. She knows all the stuff. 9 children.
Wow.
You can do it. You can make the time. I make my ladies open their calendars. I literally, on a call with them, I say, open your calendar and tell me which days and where you have a slot. Put it in. Make a meeting with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
We can do it.
Yeah, I believe that too. And you're so inspirational about all of this. And I think one of the things that I found that in my research of you, J. Marcus, that was equally inspiring to me, we all have a circuitous path to success. I've done different things throughout my 68 years to kind of get to this place in time. And you have this wonderful background in education as well as drama. And I thought that's a really nice kind of combination. How do you use both in your teaching, in your coaching, in your career to make sure and keep people, kind of on track, to influence them to grab this and not be so perfection oriented, but really coach and give them the support that they need as individuals?
Well, that's exactly it. Individuals.
Yeah.
I have a program, but every woman that comes in is her own unique world. Everybody has different needs. I don't like the idea of this is your blanket thing, go off and do it. Of course, there are the things we need to do, but I have to look at a woman with her, at her life. Like I said, what fits, what doesn't fit. How much can you realistically do? Let's not set you goals that are so impossible that you're never going to get them, because then you just feel terrible about yourself. And like I said about my lovely lady N, by step, day by day, what fits, what doesn't. I think as a teacher, as having studied drama as well, I've learned to see the other person. I've learned to read them and to push gently to hear the truth, because you don't have to put a mask on. If you're working with me, I don't want the mask. I come fully open, maybe too much, but I am fully who I am. I really don't put on a mask, and I try and be as open and honest. And I truthfully share things from my life when I coach clients, because I want them to see, Instagram models, fitness influencers who are just looking perfect with every hair in place and loads of makeup. That's not real. We're real women. I'm 56 with 4 children. I have a disabled husband, disabled veteran. I have my own business. I have so much going on. So I don't know. It just all comes together, I think.
Yeah, well, it's very inspirational, and you just do have a marvelous sense as to the purpose and the drive that's got you here. What would you say to families that want to connect over fitness? And you made this really interesting statement earlier about your kids know that mom is working out. Do your kids join you in working out? Do you suggest that families kind of try? I would imagine that that's a nice way of doing things, but that requires another step in terms of motivation, getting the kids out there and engaged.
I think motivation is the wrong word. I think we need to understand that sometimes we just have to do things and let our brains catch up. We're not always going to be motivated. I find that that's a problem, to think I have to be motivated before. No, you have to be committed to wanting to make a change for yourself. Mm-hmm. You're not making a change for yourself only, you're making a change for your family. So to answer the question, many women who join my program, their husbands are on the side doing the workouts when I do my live class, even though it's women, the husband's on the side. I promise you, husbands are going, I can't believe you're lifting that, to the wives. We're buying dumbbells, we're buying kettlebells. I'm telling them that's not heavy enough, get more. The children are doing it. My daughter, who is in university at the moment studying, is still living at home because it's her first year. When she's home in time, she does my class with me. I mean, they don't see her. She won't come in the camera, but she's on the side doing it. So I've got her huffing and puffing and saying, tell them the easier version. She sometimes comes to CrossFit with me. I run with my sons. Both of them are in the army. We've sometimes go out for a run together. I go to the gym with one of them. Whatever it takes. And I think it's encouraging them. I also, by the way, the mothers who have small kids who come to in my program, I'm like, have your kids do it too. I have a woman who lives in Germany doing my program. She has 2 of her boys. They're there doing it. And she's like, is it okay? I'm like, what do you mean, is it okay? It's the best thing I've ever seen. We do climbing on chairs, and there's her and her 2 sons. And I'm like, this is what it's about. This is what include them.
Include them, yes. Well, J. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us today, being so generous. We will have links so their audience can find out more about Jane and her work and her classes. With your permission too, Jane, I'd like to add, I want to wrap up and I just have one final question. It's actually kind of a serious one, although I watched and I was just kind of blown away. Your strength, your arm strength is really very impressive. And you have a video, a chin-up video. And with your permission, I'd like to link to that too, because I think that can be very inspirational to everybody. It has been for me because I can't do chin-ups at all. So how are you doing those chin-ups? What is the trick? It's a power move.
I do chin-ups. I do pull-ups. I do it all. First of all, you got to believe, right? You got to work up to it. We're not doing it overnight. It's really back strength, arm strength. I just practice. Every time I go near a bar, I do some sort of pull-up or chin-up.
Right, just grab.
I do. I've been known to be on holiday. I've been known to be on holiday and walk through a park and be like, oh, there's a bar. It's not because I want anyone to look at me, but I'm like, I have to do this every day. It's consistency. We give up too quickly. Keep doing it. Keep trying. Sometimes you have a good day. Sometimes you have a bad day. The more you do, the better you're going to get. It's the same with everything, isn't it? It's just the same with everything. And I say to my clients, it's like a baby. First, they can't do anything. Then they crawl. Then they walk. And you know what we do? We cheer them at every little thing they do. They get up, they fall down, and we go, yay! We fall down or we can't do it. And we go to the narrative of how awful we are, how useless we are, how we can't do anything. It's not true. We just have to keep practicing. So thank you for the compliment. I'll take it. But
absolutely.
I just keep on going. I'm 56. I work out with 20-something-year-olds at a CrossFit gym. I'm like, yeah, bring it on.
Bring it on. Jane Marcus, really such an inspiration. Wonderful to connect with you. We will have links so that our audience can find out more about you, including the chin-up video. I just have to encourage everybody to pay attention to that. Congratulations on all that you're doing. My best to you and your family. And just selfishly, please come back. You are going to motivate so many of us. Motivation is the wrong word. You're just going to inspire so many of us to keep this all going. But thank you for doing what you're doing. And my best to you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me on. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and I'd love to come back.
My thanks to Jane Marcus for joining us today in her generous time on the Fitness Friday show. You can learn more about Jane on her Facebook pages. We'll link to those in our notes today. My thanks to the Smithsonian team for all they do to support the show on their 60th anniversary of Smithsonian Associates. When you get a free moment, check out our link to Smithsonian Associates also in our notes today. My thanks always to our production team of Sam and Miranda Henniger. Thanks, guys. And a special thanks to our Fitness Friday audience on radio and podcast. Be well, be safe. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show Fitness Friday interview series on radio and podcast. Thanks, everybody. We will see you next time.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Not Old Better Show. To find out more about all of today's stories or to view our extensive back catalog of previous shows, simply visit notold-better.com. Join us again next time as we deep dive into some of the most fascinating real-life stories from across the world, all focused on this wonderful experience of getting better, not just older. Let's talk about better. The Not Old Better Show.
Hi, one final thing. Please check out our website for this episode and all episodes at notold-better.com or subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. And be sure to check out your local radio stations to find out more about the Not Old Better Show on podcast and radio. You can find us all over social media. Our Twitter feed is Not Old Better, and we're on Instagram at Not Old Better too. The Not Old Better Show is a production of NOBS Studios. I'm Paul Vogelzang, and I hope you'll join me again next time to talk about better. The Not Old Better Show. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.